So today's shloka is shloka number 25 of the 6th chapter. This 6th chapter is probably the most important chapter for us, because typically we have a problem learning how to control the mind. So this entire chapter is in essence how to control the mind. And today's shloka, the Lord is going to talk about some of the steps that one can utilize to control the mind. So I'll recite the shloka a few times and then we can practice together. Shanai Shanai Ruparamed Buddhya Dhriti Grihitaya Atma Samstham Manah Kritva Na Kinchidapi Chintayet Shanai Shanai Ruparamed Buddhya Dhriti Grihitaya Atma Samstham Manah Kritva Na Kinchidapi Chintayet Shanai Shanai Ruparamed Buddhya Dhriti Grihitaya Atma Samstham Manah Kritva Na Kinchidapi Chintayet. Please recite after me. Shanai Shanai Ruparamed
Shanai Shanai Ruparamed
Buddhya Dhriti Grihitaya
Buddhya Dhriti Grihitaya
Atma Samstham Manah Kritva
Manah Kritva
Na Kinchidapi Chintayet
Na Kinchitapi Chintayet
Shanai Shanai Ruparamed
Shanai Shanai Ruparamed
Buddhya Dhriti Grihitaya
Buddhya Dhriti Grihitaya
Atma Samstham Manah Kritva
Atma Samstham Manah Kritva
Na Kinchidapi Chintayet
Na Kinchitapi Chintayet
Shanai Shanai Ruparamed
Shanai Shanai Ruparamed
Buddhya Dhriti Grihitaya
Buddhya Dhriti Grihitaya
Atma Samstham Manah Kritva
Atma
Atma
Samstham Manah Kritva
Na Kinchidapi Chintayet.
Na Kinchitapi Chintayet
Word for word meaning and translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shanaihi,
Shanaihi
gradually.
Gradually
Shanaihi,
Shanaihi
step by step.
Step by step
Uparamet,
Uparamed
one should hold back. Buddhya,
Buddhya
by intelligence.
by intelligence
Dhriti Grihitaya,
Dhriti Grihitaya
carried by conviction.
Carried by conviction
conviction
Atma Samstham,
Atma Samstham
Atma Samstham
placed in transcendence.
placed in transcendence
Manaha,
Manaha
mind.
Mind
Kritva,
Kritva
making.
Making
Na, not.
not
Kinchit,
Kinchit
anything else.
anything else
Api, even.
Even
Chintayet,
Chintayet
should think of.
Should
should
think of
think of
Translation. Gradually,
Gradually,
step by step,
step by step.
one should become situated
One should become situated
in trance
in trance
by means of intelligence
means of intelligence
sustained by full conviction,
sustained by full conviction,
and thus the mind
and thus the mind
should be fixed on the self alone
should be fixed on the self alone
and should think of nothing else.
and
think of nothing else.
So here the Lord is talking about the process being gradual and the process being step by step. So what happens for us? Our mind is the factory of thoughts. It's like a factory that never stops. It's always manufacturing thoughts. These thoughts lead to feelings and ideas. So when your mind is manufacturing thoughts and in turn, it triggers feelings and it triggers ideas. And eventually these thoughts that have led to feelings and ideas culminate in actions, which means what began as a thought got converted to a feeling and an idea, actually got implemented. Now, there may be a time gap between the thought, feelings, and ideas and the implementation. The thought, the feeling, and idea is probably very close in terms of time. It could be just milliseconds. But sometimes the implementation is immediate and sometimes the implementation takes some time. So now both hold true. If we want to pursue that object, we act on it. And this is called sankalpa. So sankalpa is actually pursuit of that thought which is implemented in the form of action. The same thing also holds true for vikalpa. The word vikalpa here means that you don't want to pursue something because you are turned off by it. For example, if you make up your mind that you will control the amount of time that you will spend on YouTube, the thought is there for you. You know it is not good for you, but somehow or the other, you are not able to bring yourself, to put yourself in a position to restrain yourself from watching YouTube videos. Of course, one can watch Krishna conscious videos. There's nothing wrong with that. And sometimes you have a thought that arises in your mind that, I need to exercise. That exercise is good for me. And you are so motivated that you begin it. You hear maybe from others who have benefited from doing the exercises, whatever it is for. It's for health reasons or to lose weight or to feel good about yourself. Then you implement it. So both hold true. Things that you want to do and things that you don't want to do, sankalpa and vikalpa. But everything has started as a thought. So what happens over a period of time? These sankalpas and vikalpas create impressions on the mind. So let us say you have this old-fashioned camera. You take a photograph, but that photograph is not going to be visible to you until you expose that film to light. So this sankalpa and vikalpa is exposing that mind to that light such that it creates impressions. And the Lord is saying, these impressions that you're carrying with you because of things that you've done and things that you've avoided prevent you from meditating on the Lord. So he's telling us, step by step, we should become situated in the trance by means of intelligence, sustained by full conviction. So a small flare, if you keep feeding that flare, eventually it's going to become a big blaze and consume you. So which means if you don't mind your mind, it's just going to take you in so many different directions. So what is the solution to control the mind? So mind control is only possible through intelligence. But then even that intelligence is not sufficient. I know I shouldn't watch YouTube videos. Just knowing theoretically that I should not watch YouTube videos is not sufficient for me. So that intelligence has to be sustained by full conviction. So there is theoretical knowledge and then there is deep conviction. Once your intelligence is convinced that this is the right thing to do or that is the wrong thing to do, it is that conviction that actually helps you. So how do you get that conviction? So we said the mind has to be managed through the intelligence. But that intelligence has to reach that stage of conviction. To reach that stage of conviction, the intelligence has to be exposed to spiritual topics. So the way that one regulates the intelligence is by constantly exposing the intelligence to scriptures. So to control the mind, we have to control the intelligence. To modify the intelligence, we have to feed it information. And that information, sustained exposure to information, eventually sometime or the other will get converted to conviction. And it's that conviction that actually leads you to focus on the self and to focus on the Lord. So the Lord is saying here, slowly we have to remove the mind from this material world and ultimately rest the mind on the Supreme Lord. Here the Lord is saying, rest the mind on the self. So we have to turn off one switch and turn on another switch. But the Lord is saying it's a gradual process. So the first step is we have to remove the mind from the material world and teach the mind to rest on the Supreme Lord. But he says this needs determination. Dhrithi grihitaya. Once you have achieved that conviction, then it leads to pratyahara, which means withdrawing the mind from things that is really not beneficial to it and exposing it to things that are actually beneficial for us. So that means to control the mind, what matters to us should be important and not what matters to the mind. So the distinction is being drawn between the mind and the self. So either we can allow the mind to be the driver or we can allow the self to be the driver. That's the choice we have to make. So what matters to us, which is the self, should be more important than what matters to the mind. But this is a gradual, step-by-step process. So if we understood the shloka, then you can really achieve wonders with managing your mind. Not just understanding the shloka, but actually implementing the instructions where the Lord is saying step by step, gradually, you do this. You can't create too much upheaval in your mind, but it has to be a slow, methodical process. And Srila Prabhupada writes in the very first 2 sentences of this purport, the easiest way to do this, to control the mind, is to simply practice Krishna consciousness. Chant, read, honor prasadam, associate with devotees. So which means Prabhupada is saying, it need not be a gradual process. The fast track to controlling your mind and your intelligence is by diligently practicing Krishna consciousness. Then you very quickly, Prabhupada says, you will come to that stage of pratyahara. Pratyahara means withdrawing the senses from the sense objects. So your senses become attracted to the spiritual.